Hello there, quarantines, and welcome to the tea. Today I have gotten a little lazy slash comfortable with my English breakfast, and so I'm drinking it again. Thank you, Noah. This is the English breakfast tea that my student Noah brought me. He's the best. You're all the best. I miss all of you. So that's my tea for today. It's not that exciting, but the positivity I wanted to share is well, this really isn't it, but I don't know if you can hear it. But currently, I'm listening to opera. That's pretty positive. Hold on. Let's see if you can hear some. La 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 da 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 la da 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 da. Vieni, vieni. I'll make it up words. I hope you can hear that. I've been listening to opera lately, and it's getting me excited. I used to be a student of vocals of opera when I was in college, and I really miss it. And so that kind of it's kind of been a chance for me to revisit that interest and also revisit my interest in playing the piano. I've had a little bit more time to kind of practice some music. I'm learning a really beautiful song that I love by a guy named Chris Rice. It's called Untitled Hymn, and I love it. So I'm learning to play it, and it's a little hard because it has two key changes. And it starts off all easy in the key of C for all you piano players out there. Key of C is where the magic happens because there's no sharps, no flats. It's pretty easy to follow. But then it switches to like A flat, I think. Or no, maybe it's D flat. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's complicated. Anywho, the real positivity for today is this. So sometimes in our busy lives, we find ourselves filling our schedules so much that we don't have time for things that we care about, things that interest us, interests we want to cultivate. And so, one interest of mine that I really love to practice and cultivate is speaking Spanish. And I was actually a Spanish major in college many moons ago, and I love speaking Spanish and getting better at Spanish, but it's hard to make time to do that. And so, one thing I do every day, one thing I do, I said it again, one thing I do every day is that I use a wonderful app called Duolingo, which I love. And I visited my friend Val in Pittsburgh last year, and I saw the Duolingo headquarters, and I was like, "What up, Duolingo? I'm going to work for you one day." Which I don't really know if I want to do that, but it'd be kind of cool. But anyway, I use Duolingo because it's like a daily little practice app, and it reminds you each day to practice your Spanish, and it keeps you on, like, I think kind of like Snapchat. You have like a streak or something. Snapchat's dumb. I don't know what you guys do, but I feel like there's a thing where you try and like get a streak. So Duolingo does that too. So currently I'm on my 79th day of continuous Spanish practice, and it only takes me like, I don't know, 5 minutes per day. And if I want to, I can spend more time. So I'm into that. So I use Duolingo. Duolingo also has a Spanish podcast for intermediate Spanish learners. So you can listen to this like 30-minute podcast, and there's like a host who speaks English and Spanish and will kind of interject clarifying information. If they're starting to use words that are a little more complicated, she'll stop and be like, the word you just heard means somebody who designs shoes, or like some word that you wouldn't naturally know as a Spanish speaker who's not a native speaker. So anyway, I try to listen to that podcast, but it's hard. Sometimes I just don't have time or whatever. So recently, two of my friends from college have another friend who works with them in the same doctor's office. And that friend has a daughter who is of middle school age. She's a sixth grader, and she goes to a really cool school. It's called a DLI school, which stands for Dual Language Immersion. So during school, she learns half of her lessons are taught in English, and the other half are taught in Spanish. So she's not just taking Spanish lessons. She's taking classes like science and math, but taught in Spanish, which is so stinking cool. And if I ever have children, I'm sending them to a school like that because that's so cool. And if I could go back in time, I would send myself to a school like that. But I cannot time travel as of yet, gift of yet. So anyway, this student, I met her at a party that one of my friends was having, and I met her mom. And her mom reached out to me recently and asked if I would be willing to do some like weekly meetups with her and practice Spanish because she's not at school because of the pandemic, and so she wants to make sure she doesn't lose her Spanish skills. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so today we had our first session, and we got to spend like just half an hour or so speaking in Spanish. We talked about books, we talked about our families, we talked about school, and it was so cool. First of all, because she's really cool, and she reminds me in some ways of a little miniature myself. She's like really into reading and literature, and we have similar features. I kind of felt like I was looking at like a younger me, but also we got to practice our Spanish, and it was a very non-judgmental space, and we had a nice conversation, and we kind of laughed a little bit and made mistakes, and that was okay. And it was so cool, and it just reminded me of why I love learning languages and how I need to get better and practice more. So I don't think that this would not have happened were it not for this quarantine. I'm not saying thank you quarantine or anything, but there are great things that can come out of this strange time, and I'm so thankful that this is one of them. So today's positivity is about just finding joy in unfortunate circumstances. So even in the midst of something like this, there are little pockets of joy that we can find. So I'm thankful for this one, and I hope you're finding little pockets of joy too. And if you want to speak in Spanish to me for half an hour on Zoom, I will happily do that with you. All right, y'all, that's all for today. Enjoy your day. May the force be with you, and may your day be full of tea and some outdoor time because it's stunningly beautiful outside. All right, peace out.